I would say that this is, from at least a political point of view, quickly turning into a dud of a story. What am I talking about here?
Which is wild.
Which is wild. Which is
this has been for 3 weeks now.
Exactly. Take a look here. Google searches for Epstein down 89% versus just 3 weeks ago. It's quickly becoming something of a nothing burger. Trump's approval rating in July of 2025, it was 45%. It's still well within that margin of error here at 44%.
No wonder the media has invented a new case of fake outrage and another desperate attempt to tarnish the Trumper. No wonder the media has suddenly forgotten about Jeff Epstein, and they're now pretending to be outraged over public safety in Washington, D.C., which is strange when you think about it. I thought deacons at Woke United Methodist were all about the illusion of safety. Remember a few years ago when they tried to convince unattractive people that they would not only be safe, but they could also get a date if they wore a COVID mask? What about the safety precautions that the media promotes every summer? Don't go outside. Stay indoors. Cuddle with your emotional support baboon. The temperature outside is too hot, hot, hot. When it's convenient to whatever false narrative they're pushing, the media is all about the illusion of safety. But when the Trumper wants to get rid of the sharks in the DC swamp, Orange Man bad! You know, Donald Trump is starting to remind me of John Gotti in the 1980s. I'm going to have to start referring to the Trumper as the Teflon Don. This dude seems to have political immunity. He sends rockets directly up Mahmoud's ass over in Iran. Story's forgotten in a week. A couple of years ago, he was arrested for a litany of charges. There were so many charges against the Trumper, it made John Gotti jealous. He never spent a day in jail. This time last month, the media was relentless with their coverage of Jeff Epstein. And it wasn't just the wanker spankers in the woke media. There were plenty in conservative media who were outraged over Jeff. Here we are a month or so later, and the Trumper's approval rating hasn't budged. I think it went down 1 point. As expected, the media is doing everything they can to turn us against Donald Trump. Their latest creation of fake outrage is over the Trumper listening to the classic from DJ Khaled. We taking over one city at a time. The Trump takeover of filthy, disgusting, corrupt, woke cities. It started 2 months ago in Los Angeles. Thousands of people who had been unemployed for years, they suddenly found their ambition. They noticed a job opening at Woke United Methodist and they applied for the position. Help wanted, no experience required, must have functional arms for construction of Molotov cocktails. Working legs are recommended for running from the police. Feet will be sized and shoes will be provided upon being hired. Thousands of paid protesters, peaceful protesters. They were serenading the streets of LA. Deacons at Woke United Methodist, along with their pretend friends in the mainstream media, they were trying to recreate the summer of 2020, the summer of woke love. Wieners were being grilled over freshly lit Toyota Corollas. The protests were very inclusive as flags were represented from all marginalized groups. Palestinian flags, Mexican flags, BLM flags, rainbow flags. Those flags were proudly waving in the Santa Ana winds as American flags were being used to roast wiener. The protest went on for weeks as Gabby Newsom, the governor of the People's Republic of California, refused to do a damn thing about it. The Trumper finally decided that enough was enough. He sent the National Guard into Los Angeles and the woke love magically disappeared. Strange how that works. Now, The Trumper has decided, after years of lawlessness, after years of incompetence, the Trumper has decided to have the National Guard take over the ass swamp in Washington, D.C. Leadership in D.C. is so incompetent. The chief of police yesterday could not define chain of command. This lady was so stumped with the question, I thought she was being asked, what is a woman? I don't have a biologist on retainer. Next question, please. The Trumper is cleaning the swamp in D.C., and unsurprisingly, the woke media is mad. But the real panic at MSNBC has nothing to do with Donald Trump. The real panic at MSNBC has everything to do with rapidly declining ratings. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about greed potentially ruining the NFL. A condensed version of the video is available on TikTok for those of you guys who prefer shorter clips. Uncle KC is still trying to get monetized on TikTok, so if you want to support, click the link in the description below and subscribe. You know, last month, I received a lot of emails and some comments asking why I wasn't talking about Jeff Epstein. The reason I didn't really talk about it is because I thought it was being overblown. The media was using the story in another desperate attempt to tarnish the Trumper. The same media who completely ignored Jeff Epstein when our former fearless leader, Johnny B. Biden, was in office. I also had this feeling that most people didn't really care about it. I know that seems counterintuitive because the media coverage was relentless. People on social media were pretending to be obsessed with it. But most people, normal people, they're worried about things that affect them. Jeff Epstein was a deplorable asshole. He was sick. But whatever the hell was in those files, whatever happened to Jeff in prison, it doesn't affect your day-to-day life. Most people are worried about their kids not being able to afford to move out of the house. Most people are worried about spending their lives identifying as tenants because housing prices have become unaffordable. Over the last 4 years, normal people have been worried about the southern border. They have been worried about the price of eggs, price of milk. But have you noticed? We hardly hear anything about the border or grocery prices anymore. I wonder why. The media made the Epstein story into a big deal, but for most people, after a while, I just don't think it was. It clearly shows in the polling numbers, which have remained the same, clearly shows in the data where searches for Jeff Epstein and the Trumper have declined 89% in the last 3 weeks. And it damn sure shows in these ratings. Throughout the month of July, MSNBC was primarily focused on Jeff Epstein. Problem is, their audience wasn't. MSNBC averaged 865,000 viewers in prime time, down 27% compared to last year. They only averaged 81,000 in the 25 to 54 demo, down 40% compared to last year. And MSNBC was once again beaten by CNN in the key demo. Little Red Riding Hood, Jen Psaki. The chosen one, the savior, the hero. I can be your hero, baby. Little Red was chosen to replace Rachel Maddow. MSNBC felt the original replacement, some unknown named Alex Wagner. MSNBC felt Alexis just wasn't cutting it. Throughout her time on MSNBC, Alex Wagner was routinely eclipsing 1 million viewers in prime time. Last month, Jen Psaki, 960,000. The Weeknight, which is the polished turd that replaced the steaming turd left by Joy Reid, MSNBC thought they could replace one balding beauty with another balding beauty and the audience wouldn't notice. When Joy Reid was fired, she was averaging just over 1 million viewers. The Weeknight, which is hosted by some doofus named Mike Steele and Simone Sanders, the Weeknight is averaging 819,000. It's not hard to figure out why MSNBC is struggling. Let me show you a couple of recent examples. This was some of the reaction yesterday from MSNBC when the Trumper announced that the National Guard was taking over Washington, D.C. Watch it for yourself.
You don't think more police make streets safer?
No, Joe. I'm a black woman in America.
Relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about DC does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current president of the United States. When I go to DC, I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent.
Wait a minute. First of all, who is the stylist at MSNBC? Who is the barber? Whoever it is needs to be fired. You got women walking around MSNBC with receding hairlines or non-existent hairlines. And whoever that doofus was, he looks like he stuck his finger in an electric ass. Whoever that dude was, he expects me to believe that he's afraid of losing his vote. He expects me to believe that he's not afraid of crime in Washington, D.C., but he's afraid of the weather. He's not afraid of someone stealing his wallet, but he's afraid that the summer breeze will blow his money out of his pocket. He expects me to believe that the only crime he is afraid of in Washington, D.C. is January 6th. Which means the only crime he's afraid of happened 4 years ago. No wonder people are not watching this network. No wonder people aren't inhaling these toxic mouth farts. MSNBC treats their audience like they're stupid, which is the reason that their audience is rapidly dwindling. They don't get it. They just don't get it. At a time when people are starved for authenticity, MSNBC continues to be inauthentic, and they wonder why they're struggling. But give me your thoughts on this. MSNBC essentially loses half their audience in the key demo last month. They're down 27% in prime time overall. Now, in fairness to MSNBC, last year was an election year, so it's expected for ratings to be down. But we have been talking about ratings declines at MSNBC for years now. Why? Why does MSNBC continue to struggle? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.